Cousin Todd.
Good evening, and welcome to Sporlitiks, where sports and politics mix and mingle. I'm Stacey Johnson. Joining me tonight is Aguna, the Nigerian moderate Republican, Keith, the constitutional conservative, Stephen, the independent thinker, and my cousin Todd. We have a show that's full for you tonight. Former President Trump was indicted. He turned himself in New York City, but not in handcuffs, and went back to Florida. March Madness ends. We will congratulate the championship teams. NASCAR. Stephen discusses the boycott of frustrated team owners and how suspended NASCAR crew chief Cliff Daniels called shots for Kyle Larson at Richmond when he wasn't even on the track. Yesterday, according to thehill.com, Brandon Johnson's upset mayoral win in Chicago gave the liberals confidence in their approach to big cities after doubts mounted over the handling of policing and crime in New York. And in Wisconsin, Judge Janet Protestage used a vacancy on the state's Supreme Court to send an abortion rights message to voters who won Democrats control of the judicial body for the first time in years. At the same time, Maryland voters are to decide whether to enshrine abortion rights in their state constitution, and Maryland could join California, Vermont, and Michigan, all of whom have affirmed abortion protections in their constitutions, their state constitutions. For nearly 50 years, only Black men caddied the Masters. One day, they all but vanished. Why? We'll talk about that. The ACLU sues Indiana over a law banning transgender care for youth and more, if we can fit it in. First up, Stephen, what is going on with NASCAR? In that one, the owners are boycotting meeting, and they let Cliff Daniels call the shots from the sideline.
Do you have a clip on this, Stacey, or is that it?
No, I can get you. I can't get a video clip, but I can definitely get you a headline. Hold on, let me get it.
Okay.
So what were you going to talk about with NASCAR?
Oh, the race we had and the race coming up and what's going on with different drivers and owners and stuff like that. I'm not real sure why owners are upset right now, except for everything is really expensive and racing is hard to keep on the TV right now. It's really hard for all of these different owners and teams to continue the way they're going. It's just really tough. It's really tough. That's why we have less people competing each week.
Okay, so here it is. Do you see it?
Yeah.
I didn't know there were less people competing each week, but if you see, it says how suspended NASCAR crew chief Cliff Daniels called the shots for Kyle Larson at Richmond. So you're outside of that area. It says Daniels was out of sight, but not out of the team's earshot. NASCAR knows we're here, and we know they know we're here. So oftentimes, as you can see, that's Carl Richards and I guess Cliff Daniels in another race, not the one at Richmond, because he's present, but the one in Richmond, he wasn't present.
Right.
Why do they allow those crew chiefs to still call the shots if they're suspended? Do you want me to show you why he was suspended?
Go ahead.
I'll show you why he was suspended. Because of an aerodynamic rules violation in Phoenix last month, he was among 4 Hendrick crew chiefs suspended from 4 races.
Right. I'm sorry, I just got a call. No, maybe it's some loophole that they could get away with for him not being there and maybe just doing it from a remote area, maybe in the Bahamas somewhere that he could see what's going on and let them know and give it. And that's the only thing I can think of that makes it doable. Because if you're suspended,
well, look what it says. It says, however, there's no prohibition against suspended members being in the grandstands, infields, motor coach lots, sponsor suites, or teams' hospitality suites. There's no prohibition against suspended members communicating directly with team members during an event from which they are banned.
Yeah, then this is just a non-story. Then he has all the right in writing there to do what he wants to do. So I don't know what this story is about or the controversy is. I don't know. It seems like it's all kosher.
All right. So do you want to talk about who won Richmond?
Well, this is ridiculous because Kyle Larson won with his crew chief. And the craziest thing is it never happens like this. He drives for Chevrolet, which they have been dominant this year. They've been crazy, crazy good. But this is a Toyota sponsored race. And if you want to be smart, you will go with any driver that's a Toyota guy here because they have to win, because Toyota sponsors it. It happens every year. We have all grown accustomed to it. This year, it didn't happen like that because he had everything line up just perfectly for him to go against whatever they could do to make sure a Toyota won. So congratulations to Kyle Larson. That says a lot about him, a lot about the perseverance of his team. It says a lot about everything that they're doing. And I'm a big fan of Kyle Larson, and celebrate his win. The only thing that's a drag is the Richmond race. And I have a lot of friends who want to go to the race. You can go to the race and have a good time just by all the people there and all the crazy stuff that goes on and all the fun stuff and all the fair-like, circus-like parade that goes on there. It's crazy. It's fun like that. But the race used to be really, really good. Like, I used to spend $100 on a ticket. I can get that same ticket for $35 now because the racing is not as good, because these new cars don't work well on these shorter tracks. We have Bristol next week, but that's a whole different story. It's going to be bizarre next week too. But it's just not a great race where all we want is cars racing hard together, racing back and forth together all through the field. And that's what it used to be here. That's why we drew people from California and Alaska to come to this race. We can't really fill up the stands anymore. Something's got to happen. If the cars are going to be this way, we need to change the way the track is. We got to make the banking higher on both ends. We got to make it, maybe extend it, maybe a little bit. I don't know, but it's notorious now for being a boring race. Next week is a experiment they've been doing for Bristol, which is a dirt race. They take a Bristol, the track that has asphalt, and cover it with dirt about that deep or more.
Wow. What do they do that for?
Because they want to have a dirt track race to bring in older people and to show the younger people what all of this racing came from, is dirt track racing. But if you want a dirt track race, we're all trying to say, let's take a real dirt track that people race on and do that doesn't have asphalt underneath of it, because eventually all that dust and all that dirt goes up in the air and you're left with the track anyway. And it's been horrible for the last 2 years. And it was during the day. This year, they're going to do it at nighttime, which they're claiming the Dust Bowl won't be as bad and everything will be more packed down and it'll be a better race. I'm excited to see it. It's Sunday night on Easter. And I don't know why they didn't do it Saturday before Easter, but it's Sunday night on Easter, and it's going to be a dirt track at Bristol, and it's really bizarre. But that's the one thing about NASCAR they've been doing for the last maybe 5 years, is trying to make it more bizarre and bring more eyes to the situation and bring more seats to the stadium. And hopefully it works out. I'm a big fan of NASCAR. I hope it all works out. I'm just skeptical when they take dirt and put it on a track itself. It's kind of funky.
Yeah, it sounds like it's going to be a little funky. So
it's worth a watch.
All right, we'll see. So thank you. And let's say congratulations to the March Madness NCAA championship winners. That would be the
Flyer.
University of Connecticut, the University of Connecticut men's Huskies, and the LSU Lady Tigers women's. Congratulations to them. As I did say last week, I believed that the San Diego State team was going to be in the Final Four, and they were. So I was right. I didn't know if they were going to win at all. I was hoping they would, but they didn't. They were obviously outmatched by the UConn Huskies, who, once the UConn Huskies reached the Final Four and a championship match, they have never lost it. They have won all 5 of the matches they've been in. When they are in the last match, the championship game, actual game, not the Final Four, the actual championship game, they have not lost a game. And San Diego State was severely outmatched by height, experience, and just
talent.
Yeah. I felt bad for them because they really played their heart out and they played really well, but they just didn't have what the UConn Huskies did. So, but at least a good thing about that is we didn't see the usual Duke. We didn't see usual North Carolina. We didn't see the usual Villanova teams in men's. I'm talking men's basketball. We didn't see the usual teams that always get there. We saw a different team make it. And this was the first time that San Diego State had made it to the Final Four, let alone the championship game. And I was really shocked because I think most people in San Diego are surfing. So, I thought these guys were going to come out with surfboards, and they really, really played it out. So it was really nice to see.
They're really, really tough. They're grown men in San Diego, but what they have in UConn are professional players. They're all, I think all of them are going to the pros. They're unbelievable. And then they were winning by double digits for the last 5 games they played, and they were favored by 7.5 in this game. So to me, it was pretty much easy money. All week long, I had UConn laying the 7.5, and they ended up winning by 17 points. So I really didn't need to worry about it at all because they were amazing. And South Carolina is amazing. They should get it should be 1A and 1B, that they could hang the way they did against this team that is incredible. And to get South Carolina, San Diego to go as far as they did was wonderful and great for them. And maybe it's a sign of better things to come for them. Maybe, unless they lose their coach and all their players.
And unfortunately, you mean South.
Happen.
Well, you say South Carolina, Stephen, you meant the women's or the men's?
Yeah, no, I just slipped and said South Carolina when I meant San Diego, but I got South Carolina on the brain.
Yeah, because South Carolina was very unusual for the women to lose. That's Coach Dawn Staley's team, and usually she wins championships, and for her to lose was really, really a big shock.
Yep. And I was glad to see LSU beat Iowa. That was a good win because LSU beat my team, Virginia Tech, and I was for LSU, and it was amazing. It's absolutely amazing. And these women, a lot of these women are going to the pros, and they can hang. It's a lot of fun to watch, and a lot of people are missing out because they don't get the focus that the men get. But if they did, they are scoring a lot of points. And I watched women's basketball 10 years ago. It was nothing to watch. But right now, these women that are coming through now are amazing. All of them. It's just crazy good. So I think they're going to get a lot more attention. A lot of them are making a lot more money. Like the girl for Iowa, she's got $1 million contracts here, $1 million contract here, $1 million contract. And that's going to mean something. As long as they can keep it continuous the way they're doing, they're going to make money to rival the men in college and pros, I think. If it's a good product,
I really hope so because I hope so because we really need to support the women who have natural talent and they can play just like men can play. So we really
if it's a good product, that's all we want. We want something good to watch.
Absolutely, a good sport.
Yep.
And congratulations to the LSU Lady Tigers on a well-deserved good win. Cousin Todd, Nas, did you want to say anything about that?
Well, I'll go first, I guess. It really, the whole team did well, but it really comes down to the pitcher. And I think if the pitcher does well, then the rest of the team will do well.
I agree. Thank you,
Nas?
Colin. Beat that, Nas.
Well, I mean, the only thing really left to add on to it is the NCAA should be paying the kids, and they should be listed as employees, not student athletes. It's a fake term they came up with not to pay them. So it's
Right.
good that Caitlin and everybody else, well, the other stars will be able to get NIL money. But you look at the rest of that team, 2 through 12, none of them are getting NIL money like that. They may get, a discount at the local, whatever the bar that serves the best food in the local
Right.
area is, or, whatever. But that's not actual wages. You know what I'm saying? So
Absolutely.
kids should be listed as employees. They should fight to unionize. And the NCAA should not be getting away with hauling off paying their employees by using sponsorship deals and everything else.
Mhm.
So this is, once again, showing the ugly side of what collegiate sports are. Salute to the ladies, though. They got that big TV rating number. I think a lot of people are going to be excited for just the revenge next year when those guys play, when they play again, any little primetime matchup. But, yeah, women's basketball is getting bigger and bigger. And in the new NBA CBA, they just finished, NBA players are now allowed to invest in WNBA teams. So that would be a smart thing for some of these young players to get involved in because, everybody loves to hate on the WNBA, talk about they lose money and all of that. But it's coming. You got a full generation of young girls who grew up watching it and playing. So it's coming. Yeah. And those things are going to be hugely profitable.
And we may see the player back from who got detained in Russia. Hopefully she'll come back and play in the WNBA because she is an incredible player as well. So hopefully she'll be able to play. Brittany Griner, be able to play, make money as opposed to having to go to Russia to play to make money.
Stacey, I thought she was playing. I thought she was playing when she came back. She's still not playing?
No.
No, season wasn't in when she came back. But that's the other ugly part of this that I forgot about. As much as I was happy and wanting LSU to win that game, it was bittersweet just because Kim Mulkey is the coach of LSU. And if you remember, she was the coach at Baylor for Brittany Griner. She was the one who couldn't be bothered to say a word in Brittany's defense while she was detained or sign on to any of the petitions that they put out there. Like, she's just a real ugly travesty of a woman, even with her ridiculous outfits and everything else. So that's the only sad part.
Wow.
Ooh. Oh. That is cold to say that about a sister.
He's getting all diva.
I got a question. I just got one question for Nas and for all of you. What do you think of transgender guys playing on the girls' basketball team, women's basketball team? Is that okay with you?
I'm not answering silly.
Nor am I.
Why is that a
question?
Why is that a silly question?
Keith, I will not dignify that question with an answer.
Get out of here.
All right. Let's move on. I'm going to share my screen. What were you going to say? Go ahead, Keith. Keith wanted to say something.
It's a shame that they can't. It's a pity that they can't answer that in this climate in our culture. I mean, why can't they answer it? I can answer it. I say no. But they can't even give an answer. So, I mean, that's ridiculous. But anyway.
Yes. Should flying cars have to abide by the speed limit, Keith?
You never.
Keith, right now. Should flying cars have to abide by the speed limit?
Good for you.
I feel like you're ducking the question.
I want to see what you think when it does happen. Okay. I'll leave it at that. When it happens. We'll wait till then.
So, Steven sent me by text message this video. And in the video, it had a guy playing a pillow fight with girls. And he said, the video said, not Steven, the video basically said, it's all fun and games until men get into playing with girls. So the girls were hitting the one guy with the pillow. And of course, he wasn't affected. But as soon as the one guy started hitting the girl with the pillow.
Where are we going with this? You sound like Keith.
They all ended up knocked out on the floor all the way around. So I
Because
think
the men's stronger.
So
Pull
I
up.
think Keith's point is the same as Steven's point, which is
Yeah,
men
I guess so.
are
They're lovers. I mean, they're friends.
that men
It's same
are
thing.
inherently
Same thing.
strong. Excuse me, men are inherently stronger than women, and when they actually play with women, they are still have that inherent strength that women don't have. Was that your point, Keith and Steven?
Yes,
Thank
ma'am.
you. Yes,
But it's not to disparage women. It's just a biological fact. But Stacy, I think you're stronger than your cousin Todd.
Well, I just know how to run a football right down the ice on a hockey.
Now, Stacy,
All
I
right.
think my
Some
question
video,
was
we're
very,
really gonna have
very
to talk
important,
about
though.
The right's obsession with this idea that, this really, really small percentage of the population, everybody's trying to figure out, okay, how do you make space for these people? How do you treat these people like humans? Where on the other side, the right is just like, don't let them do this, don't let them do
they're
that.
fixated
It's
on
just
them.
trying to terrify middle America
Right.
into the concept of something that doesn't really exist. Most of these
That's
people
right.
don't even live in a
You're not
state where they got two
real
of them in
pro.
the whole state, and they're making these arguments based on, oh, it's coming.
Yes. Yeah,
You're
it's
not,
coming.
you're not living in the
If
real
there's a
world.
transgender person playing in NCAA
You're
against
not-
other women,
You're not
like,
living
what
in.
do you think she's gonna be, Shaq? Like she's gonna average 30 and 50? Like what do
Yeah.
y'all? How do y'all think this actually goes? The only
You're
place
not
who would
real
have
world.
any type of hesitancy in saying that it's okay is combat sports. Like if you're talking about MMA or boxing or something, then no, I wouldn't be okay with it. But anything just athletic feats, like I don't understand, man. Y'all think of a hypothetical and then get mad about it.
Because a man is going to beat a woman swimming 99 times out of 100.
Yeah. You're not living in the real world. Sir.
Guess who else is going to win 99 times out of 100? The top
A man.
swimmer. Because swimming is a really small talent pool, and the ones who win typically win all of the stuff there. So, like, and let me know the last time you watched a swim meet, or when you signed up for a subscription for Swimming Monthly. Like, stop acting like you care about this in order to win.
I care about it.
Little raggedy
I care about it, Nas. I care about it, and I'm all about women. I'm all about women.
Steven, I think you care about whether or not you can win some money off of betting off of the sport. So
if that was the truth, Stacey, if that was the truth, I'd bet on the man to beat the woman every time, and I'd be a millionaire.
Well, I think that's what you're trying to accomplish.
Call that 1-800 number. You need some help.
No, I'm saying we don't need this. Women need to compete against women. Men need to compete against men to keep it fair and right.
Right.
So you might as well be like the kid on the movie with Schwarzenegger. It says women have vaginas and men have penises.
Are we finally figuring this out after all this transgender talk and all those people that don't know what a woman is? Thank you, Stacey, for pointing that out to everyone. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the best show we've ever had. Stacey has just made sure that a man has a penis and a woman has a vagina.
Todd, do you have anything to say about NBA?
Well, I could just tell you.
I mean, you just got the new CBA that's locked in. And once again, when people are talking about the NBA's declining ratings, they didn't understand the NBA is playing a different game. Man, these kids don't watch full games. They watch highlights, they watch packages, they share things with each other. So the NBA is totally different than what it used to be.
TikTok.
But the TV networks, exactly. But the TV networks still realize their value because live sports are still the most important thing for TV because what? You can't DVR it. You can't say, I'll watch it tomorrow. You have to watch it that day. So it's still valuable to TV. So the NBA is still running. MLB just kicked off this week. They're running beautifully. And we all know what a monster the NFL is. So salute to the NBA players, man. They got a nice chunk of change out of the owners' pockets. Hopefully next time they'll get more.
Anyone else want to comment on that before I move on? All right, the Masters. Golf. I'm talking about golf. So I'm showing this article by CNN.com, and it says that for nearly 50 years, only Black men caddied the Masters. One day, they all but vanished. Why is that? Nas, I think you know. Why is that?
Well, I mean, it's the Masters, so I hate to even act like this is like some type of respectable organization. This is a powerful, super wealthy organization with their terrible sport that I don't watch and don't care about. And honestly, you got to understand the Masters from this standpoint. They didn't let blacks in, didn't let women in, all that for years. And when women finally went against them and they were protesting against them and they went after their ad sources, you know what the Masters did? They said, fine, we're running with no commercials. Like, this is serious money we're talking about right here. Like, that they don't care. That they got money enough to be racist, sexist, or whatever it is and get away with it. But as far as caddying or whatever, man, those brothers needed that money back in the day, so they did it. And, you know, through a lot of loss of dignity, but hell, man, you had to eat back then. So I got no complaining against those brothers doing what they had to do. But
Okay.
the Masters, the hell with them.
So it says here, Cousin Todd, or let me go to Keith. Let me go to Keith first. It says here, Keith, that the Kings of the Hills, the stories of the original group of Augusta caddies almost always began in the same place, Sand Hills, located 3 miles from the Masters venue. The historically black district lay adjacent to Augusta Country Club. Local kids between 10 and 12 years old could earn a wage carrying the bag for the members. 90% of Augusta National's original caddy corps grew up in Sand Hill neighborhood, according to Leon Mabin, vice president of the board of directors at Augusta's Lucy Craft Laney Museum of Black History. Eventually, many would hop across Race Creek to begin work at Augusta National, or as Ward Clayton, author of Men on the Bag, the caddies of Augusta National, terms it, they graduated. They were just looking for a buck, says Clayton, and also says our own Nas. They were looking for a way to make money. So they made money carrying these bags. So Keith, why, after that period of time passed, do you think majority of them left?
I don't know. Well, the question, this begs the question to me: did who carried Tiger Woods' bags? Okay, black man. Was it a black man? Was it a white man? Was it a young man? I mean, I think it was a good thing to have them carrying bags if they got paid for it and they were actually getting, considering it as a job, sort of an entry level, a way to make extra money. I don't have a problem with it. Not me. But I'm not a golfer. I'm not into golf. And again, I asked the question: when Tiger Woods was at his top prime level, who carried his bags? Were they white or black?
I don't know.
White. He had a professional caddy who he later fell out with, who went on to caddy for other people. But the caddies you see now, this is not like you go to a club and some guy just becomes your caddy. Like, no, this is a profession now. So,
and what's
caddies are pretty famous.
And what's so interesting, Cousin Todd or Stephen, let's start with Stephen, then I'll finish with Cousin Todd. What's so interesting, Stephen, is these caddies didn't have maps. They weren't schooled, like Nas said. They weren't professional caddies that kind of understood and learned the fairways of the courses all over the world. They learned it as they went. They had a map in their head, and they were able to negotiate and navigate those courses with the golfers very successfully. So the question would be, why would they leave?
I don't know why they left. Maybe somebody got upset because they would just see black people carrying white people's bags and it made them upset. But I'm sure there was plenty of white people that would have loved to have been the caddies, but they had exclusively, like affirmative action, only had black people carrying the bags, and they made good money. I'm sure they made good money. They were professionals. I'm sure they made good money because Augusta has a lot of money, and I'm sure a lot of people in any race would have liked to have been a caddy for these guys way back when. So, and then why they disappeared was because some stupid people, the way they do now, said, "Oh, this looks bad. It's just black people. Let's take these black people off of different food labels. Let's take black people out of this because this makes black people look bad. But these people are making money." It's just silly. That's probably what happened.
Wait a minute, Stacey. He just came up with a concept in his head and said, "Well, that's probably what happened." What?
Well,
Yeah.
you know,
What
How is it any less plausible than anything you've said, Nas?
how?
I mean, you're the golf aficionado. You should know all this. You never
Oh,
watched golf in your life. You wouldn't give golf a second of your life. So you must be the expert here. Not, I'm not saying I'm an expert. I'm just saying I have my opinion. You have yours. I'm saying a job is a job. And if only black people were caddies, those black people are making good money. Whether or not they're like, well, these black people are going to do this for us, but we're going to pay them. It wasn't slavery times when they did it. They paid them to do it. And I'm sure a lot of white people or Hispanic people or Cuban people would have loved to have the job. That's all I'm saying.
So nobody insisted that. The point is, when this wasn't a very high-paying profession where the locals could walk on and just be there, it was that. But then when it became this prestigious thing and Augusta became this very important thing and it started paying more, well, guess what? Guess who you see less of? I don't even know why this is surprising anybody. But for those that don't know, shout out to the rest in peace to the great Dr. John Henry Clark. Dr. Clark actually caddied for Eisenhower down there a couple of times. And that was a story he told in his autobiography. So, it's interesting.
Cousin Todd.
Okay. This craziness that Stephen comes up with is the kind of thing you get off the dark web where you say, oh, I know what happened. They were paying a lot of money, and so they hired only the blacks because they were in love with them. And so they paid them a lot of money to do it. And I'm sure white people didn't like it. And you know what? And blacks got over. He's so crazy until anyway, they hired black people because black people were the only ones willing to do the job. No different than how you hire these Mexicans for these field kind of jobs where they're picking fruit off of trees and that kind of a thing. So they hired blacks, paid them hardly nothing.
Anything.
And there you were. And so all of that nonsense you just said was just.
But do you know they didn't pay? You know they paid them
yes,
a little bit of money?
Yes,
you
ma'am.
know that?
Yes.
Where are your figures, ma'am?
It's on the dark web.
Where are your? You're just talking, just pulling it out your butt, man. Come on.
So anyway, but you weren't.
No,
you weren't when they said, they paid them a lot of money.
Can admit now they weren't making any money. Come on,
they weren't. This is why
you don't know. You just said you were pulling those figures out of your butt.
They were.
You just said you were pulling it out your butt.
1 and 1 equals 2.
Thank you, Todd. That's the most accurate thing you've ever said.
They hired these poor people. So what are they paying them $1 million a week, Stephen?
Yes, $1 million a week in today's money, not in yesterday's money, but today's money.
They were willing to do the job, and they did it. So
nobody else wanted to be a caddy.
Caddies are making a lot of money. They no longer need you darkies. They stick with whites. And to answer your boyfriend's question,
that's a beautiful hypothesis.
Tiger Woods' caddy was white. Of course.
Let me ask you this: will Tiger Woods make the cut?
All
Todd,
of his mistresses.
Todd, will Tiger Woods make the cut at the Masters?
Ma'am, don't ask me anything silly.
Stacey, I don't know why we have to be ma'ams.
Wait a minute.
Hold on before you do the gambling.
Ma'am, Nas, ma'am.
Let's put this in perspective. Did they make a lot of money? No. Did they make nice money compared to other black folks in Augusta in that day? Yes. That's what we're talking about. So it was a good enough wage for you to go out there and do it. But you weren't being paid like a tremendous amount of money or anything like that. So what were your options in Augusta, Georgia?
So
what are they now? What are they now in Augusta? Not a lot.
So I want to.
Augusta, Georgia.
I want to move on to the elephant in the room. Former President Trump flew from Florida in his private jet. He looked like he was still president of the United States, although he didn't get first. He did not get to go first among all the other planes. He had to wait in line for his plane to take off and go. And
And what does
then
that mean he looked
he
like
went
the
to New York,
president? What does that mean he
and
looked like the president?
be- well, he
Yeehaw!
looked like. Let me finish. He looked like the president because you saw a motorcade. Usually, when a
All right.
president is going from point A to point B, there's a motorcade. And in New York, there was a motorcade for him, and that's what I mean by he looked like the president. Same thing when the
Right on.
motorcade pulled up to his plane in Florida. It looked like a motorcade. It didn't look
Right
like
on.
someone who got out of the car, walked into the terminal, walked to the plane, and boarded the plane. It didn't look like that. It didn't look normal. It looked special. He went home to his ceilings full of 14 karat gold, spent the night, and then walked on in for an arraignment where he was not handcuffed. He was not mishandled. He wasn't treated anything but nicely.
Yeah.
And then he went into the court. He sat down and they read the charges. The judge came in. He didn't stand up for the judge. And I don't understand how someone
You
who
sound
is
disappointed.
supposedly not above the law does not stand up when a judge enters his courtroom.
You sound
The lawyers, excuse me, I didn't interrupt you, Keith. The lawyers stood up for the judge, but former President Trump did not. Each time the judge entered and left his courtroom. So that to me seemed to be a little bit of he is above the law. He's not special. He left. He got in his motorcade and drove straight to the airport and got on his plane and flew back to Florida.
But Stacey, what did the judge say?
I'll start with Cousin Todd and how you think or what you think is going to happen. I have specific questions, but I'll start with Cousin Todd because I can't ask him a specific questions. He's not going to answer it.
Yeah, I'll answer that question about him not standing. It was the typical sign of disrespect, which is typical Trump. And but he's too dumb to know the judge gets the last word. And so when he got there, I understand what you mean by looking presidential, but there were a lot of cops because who he is, and they wanted to make sure he got to the courthouse safe. Now, why all these charges? And Stephen talked about this years ago and said how he should be in jail. This is Stephen talking. Trump should be in jail. If his lawyer went to jail for paying, this is Stephen's words, if his lawyer went to jail for paying a porn star, why can't he go to jail? But you know what? Rich people don't get the same treatment we got. This is Keith, this is Stephen. And so we talked about that and we agreed that when you have money, this is just what happens. And I said, Stephen, are you okay with that? No, but what can we do about it? He said. So now I'll ask Stephen, do you still feel the same way, or should Trump get off and have his lawyer go to jail? Do you still feel the same way? He paid a porn star, according to you, and his lawyer went to jail? He should go to jail. That's what
his lawyer didn't go to jail. What lawyer went to jail, Todd?
Okay, never mind.
What lawyer went to jail?
Cohen went to jail.
See, when you got to start from kindergarten.
No, what lawyer went to jail? Cohen? I'm asking him a question. What lawyer went to jail?
I'm
Cohen?
telling you. Cohen.
The one who lied repeatedly went to jail. Did I ever say Trump should go to jail because Cohen went to jail? I did not.
You said he paid Trump's porn star.
But he didn't break any laws, Todd.
Okay.
Trump didn't break any law.
I'm moving on.
The lawyer went to jail because the lawyer broke a law. Donald Trump broke no laws.
Okay. I want to finish what I'm saying now. I don't need you to come back.
No. Anyway, just keep the absurdity going. I like it.
Absurd. It's called absurdity now. But a few
years
ago, it was not absurd. Stephen's words were, he paid for Trump. He didn't have sex with the porn star. Trump did. So why should he go to jail? Stephen's words.
Show me.
He paid. That's been proven. That's why he went to jail. And the only reason he lied.
No, show me where I said it.
The only reason he lied was because Trump wanted him to. Trump did not want him to say, "Oh yeah, I had to pay $130,000 for my boss."
This is not something to indict somebody on, Todd. You don't understand.
The difference between Donald Trump and say Bill Clinton. Bill Clinton was with Monica Lewinsky, but he never paid Monica Lewinsky out of campaign finance money.
He didn't pay her out of campaign finance money, Todd.
It's funny. The judge says he did.
The judge says he did not. Nobody said he did. That's a lie.
No, that's not a lie. This is why
you're lying or you're ignorant. Either way, you're not useful tonight.
This is why he's in court now.
It is not. He's in court because the guy is stupid. The guy in New York that wants him in court is stupid. What's his name? Alfred or Alvin or
because he doesn't want.
Yeah,
he doesn't want people to be above the law, like you used to say.
Excuse me. Let me ask Keith. Keith, a few weeks ago,
Alvin,
former President Trump said that he would be arrested on Tuesday. Remember, and he asked people to get out there and to protest and do things to fight against him being arraigned on a Tuesday. So my question was, if that was true, he was arraigned on a Tuesday. It just wasn't the Tuesday he predicted. Is he making all the decisions in this process? And is this totally a setup by Trump?
No, of course not. Trump, and by the way, Trump did not respect that court because this is all bogus.
No, he
did not disrespect. He did not break the law. In fact, the judge, not that judge, but a judge awarded $120,000 or $121,000 that Stormy has to pay for his attorney fees. You know, the fees that he had to pay. So basically, that was an award from the courts to Donald Trump. So why is that? You know, why would a judge do that if Trump is actually guilty of anything?
Are you saying Donald Trump did not sleep with Stormy Daniels?
No, he's not saying that. Stacey, hey Stacey, ask me that. You should ask me this question because I think it's really funky. Stacey, wait a minute. Wait a minute,
Stephen. Wait a minute.
I know, but Stacey, you should ask me this question.
Just stop, please.
All right.
Okay, Todd, you have to stop. You can't keep going on.
Keith was not finished.
Keith was finished, right, Keith?
I asked him, did Trump sleep with Stormy Daniels? He said no. Right?
That's done.
He said no.
That's finished. He said he didn't sleep with them.
So he did sleep. He did sleep with her. That's not the question.
Stephen.
Yes.
My question to you is, why didn't Trump get a mugshot, and how can Trump decide not to get a mugshot and everybody else who is arraigned and indicted has to get a mugshot?
Because everybody in the entire world knows what the Pope looks like and they know what Donald Trump looks like. No need to get a mugshot. Now, you should have asked me that question about that you asked Keith, because this is weird, Stacey. I tell you, I don't have any biases. I'm an independent thinker. Something is weird about this. That it is such a weak case that this AG has brought from New York. It is such a weak case that something is funky here. That Donald Trump knew that it was going to be on a Tuesday, but he didn't know what Tuesday. That to me makes me believe that he has something to do with this, because none of this makes sense. Remember, I was a never Trumper. Something's not right with what's going on, because they have nothing on Trump. They're just, but what it does is this elevates Trump. Trump has gained more popularity through the liberals and anybody and the Republicans. He's gained more popularity because of this stuff that's so obviously fake, that it helps Trump so much that it can't help but get my spotter senses up that something's funky, that Trump may be a multi-billionaire that's involved with these people. I don't know at this point. Something is really weird. That he knew it was going to be on a Tuesday, maybe not that Tuesday, but they don't have anything on Trump. They can't get him on anything.
Okay, thank you, Nas.
Gotta get Nas in.
Yeah, so a 34 count indictment means they do have something on them. Matter of fact,
nope.
It's the charges, a lot of charges. So that's going to be a problem. The idea that you run so many conspiracy theories in your head that you tie your conspiracy theories together and say he's in on it lets me know I shouldn't listen to anything you have to say about the topic. Now, as you guys kind of laid out, which I think is the most telling part of all this, is you clearly see there's a two-tier justice system, one for regular folks and one for the wealthy. So in the one for the wealthy and the powerful, you don't do mug shots, you don't do the fingerprints, you don't do the perp walk, you don't do anything that's not agreed to in a manner that would make you and the other side happy. So to me, that was the most obvious thing we got to see with this. And Stacey's right as far as him getting off the plane and having the service as far as the Secret Service and everybody else out there and the line of trucks out there. Like, yeah, man, this is supposed to be a criminal case. You're supposed to be treated as a normal American citizen. I understand we've never been here before. We're in uncharted waters right now. George Washington didn't have to go show up in New York for an indictment. Like, we've never done this before. This is a strange period. So I don't know how that's going to play out. But again, we're still stuck in the same we're still stuck in the same loop where basically the super Trump supporters all feel like this is a rallying cry and they feel vindicated and they're yelling, and the people who don't like him are happy as hell, love to see it, got to laugh, all kind of jokes and memes last night. So I don't even know why people are saying he's been resurrected or anything like that. The numbers are still what they are. His unfavorables are way more than his favorables. So
bull crap.
Election, and that's how he's going to lose the next one. I mean, if
he's got better numbers than anybody. Donald Trump has better numbers than anybody.
Okay.
Yeah,
well,
you still don't get it. When you have super supporters who love you, and those are the only people who show up to vote for you, and there are a lot of people who don't like you enough to where they'll get an unprecedented amount of votes to Joe Biden, who probably makes the mistakes of thinking that those votes were for him and not in opposition to Trump. You're still missing the plot. So you guys can get excited and wave your flags and run him again, and guess what? He's going to lose.
Every poll has Trump way ahead. Every poll has Trump way ahead.
Okay, he's ahead.
Those are
whatever.
polls for the Republican Party.
No, it's not. That's not true.
Okay, so all right.
Sorry.
All right, so let me move on. We're running out of time. I want
before we move on, I just wanted to talk about the middle people, the people who are not for Donald Trump, but also not for Joe Biden. What do they think? They think the way Stephen used to think. Fair is fair. Just because you have a lot of money doesn't mean the law should bend for you. That's what Stephen used to say. And so now that the law is not bending for Trump, if you sleep just like I was saying before, if you sleep with somebody, and that's not the first person he slept with, he also slept with other people.
So what?
Paid them.
So what? Everybody sleeps with people and they pay them to shut up.
Oh, so now that's okay?
Everybody does it, Todd.
Wait,
Congress has money set up to pay off people to shut them up. Did you know that? Everybody, Todd, this is life. You don't have nothing on Trump right now. You're ridiculous.
So it's interesting.
34 counts.
So what? It's interesting.
And 34 counts of nothing, Nas. You believe in unicorns.
Excuse me. It's interesting that the Manhattan DA, Alvin Bragg, first said that he was not going to bring charges against former President Trump, and then he brings 34 counts. What changed?
He has nothing. It's BS, Stacey.
Well, Stacey, I was looking at a video the other night with Malcolm X. Malcolm X was very clear. He said when he described Malcolm X,
wait a minute.
No, let him talk. Let Keith talk. Let Keith talk.
Is that fat, ragged, thin-haired
Malcolm X?
Talk about him. Talk about him.
Stacey,
all right, go ahead, Keith.
All right, Malcolm X described the difference between a house Negro and a field Negro. Alvin Bragg is a house Negro. He has to please he has to please the man.
This has got to be a violation of the
He actually campaigned.
It's calling someone a house Negro.
Hold on. I'm going to prove it because he
Listen.
actually campaigned on the idea that I'm going to get Trump.
Where's it going?
If you vote for me, I will get Trump.
I'll be a guna. Uncle Ruckus, you trying to get in?
So there it is.
What he's saying is
the
only reason he is in office is to get Trump. He's in office to get Trump. That's what he ran on. I'm going to get Trump. That's what Alvin's doing.
He's a
okay. All right. So Alvin didn't run on that because Alvin Bragg from Manhattan DA said he was not going to file charges against President Trump in the beginning. So go ahead, Nas.
No, he did run on getting Trump.
He did run on that.
He did run on getting Trump.
Yep. He did.
Prove it.
Keep repeating the same erroneous stuff. She just corrected you.
It's the truth. Oh, hey, erroneous. You meant to say truth, but you said erroneous.
Stephen, he didn't run on that. But go ahead, Nas.
Yes, he did, but he did.
As Stacey said, because he didn't run on that.
But he did.
Acted like he wasn't going to. Why? Because he knew the knives would come out and the money would be injected from super PACs against him if he did make that declaration. So, I mean, yeah, it's shady to do that.
In New York?
It's just smart politics. Like
in New York?
But then,
well,
then
he ran on it in New York.
Wait a minute, Stephen. Then my question becomes, why would former President Trump go after, and his family verbally go after the judge's daughter, talking about her job, and go after the DA's wife, saying the DA's wife hated Trump? No one goes after Trump's wife or children for what Trump has done. They leave it separate. That's
the only hand he has to play, Stacey. Like, he runs on grievous politics and anger and the so-called people left behind.
So no, he's got people that are going after him for nothing but for political reasons. They're going after him for political reasons. So he's fighting back.
Yeah, so
these people have nothing on him, Nas. They have nothing on Trump.
We heard you say that 10 times, man. Let me just finish. So
but it's true. There's people on your side, Nas, that agree with me.
You don't know who's on my side, sucker. Shut up. So you can play that on gullible people like Stephen and Keith, and they'll eat it up. They were selling T-shirts the night of. Immediately, they started grifting this. So I don't know why anybody's surprised. This is probably his only move, to be honest. You attack him, he has to attack you 2 times harder. That's been his political ideology.
Yeah. So Cousin Todd, before you just left and came back, Keith was talking about house Negroes and field Negroes.
Right. I know. I fell out of my chair when he said that, because there is no better house Negro than Keith. Now, let me say this.
Is Keith a house Negro or a field Negro?
Well, his coloring would make him a field Negro, but his attitude and the way he wants to get into white heaven would make him a house Negro.
Oh, so you want to call him what a Guna calls him, Uncle Ruckus.
And let me say this about Stephen.
Hey, Todd, am I house or am I field? Todd, am I house or field? I need to know.
Before Stephen,
or the unwashed roof who they tell things every day.
What am I, Todd? Todd is the operator. Todd knows everything. Todd, what am I? The house or the field? Please tell me. I need to know. I need to know. I'm OCD.
Stephen used to say Trump was dirty because he went after Ted Cruz's wife
and father.
And
yeah, father. It was terrible the way he did that. I agree. Yes.
At that point, he was a rotten person. Now that he's
not a great person.
Black judge, this black prosecutor and his family. Oh well, that's what he goes. That's what he gets. This is amazing.
But Donald Trump didn't go after his family. Donald Trump didn't go after this man. So this man went after Donald Trump, so he can pretty much say what he wants if it's true. It's not
the
slander.
law.
It's not liable
It
if
is
it's
the
true.
law.
If he's speaking the
If
truth
you-
about these people, if he's speaking the truth, he can say whatever he wants.
Okay. All right. Let's move on. We're running out of time.
Stephen is so crazy. It's hard to even listen to him. He goes back, he just flip flops.
Hey, Stacy.
There's no flip flop except on my feet.
I have I looked it up. It says that in 2018, Bragg promised in his campaign, to pursue Trump vigorously, more so than the other candidate. There it is.
Listen, there you go. He's going to pursue him. He was going after him. Of course he was, Stacey. That is common knowledge.
Okay, guess what? That didn't say anything about his wife or the judge's daughter.
The judge's daughter is an a-hole. His wife may be an a-hole. Maybe that's.
You got to let me finish talking. I'm about sick of this.
And maybe Ted Cruz's wife is ugly.
So
what is that
my point is, District Attorney from Manhattan, Bragg, did not say anything about Trump's family members. He didn't bring them up. The judge didn't say anything about Trump's family members. He didn't bring it up. It's not about his family members. It's about the person. And so for the president to bring up the judge's family and the district attorney's family, I think is horrible. It's horrible.
Yeah, but Stacey, you got to overstate this, because remember what happened to Ruby in Georgia. This is not like some accidental thing where he just wants to barbershop insult somebody. This is actually a rallying of a lot of his fascist base who was sending death threats to him, where she had to move a couple of times and actually
her daughter
kicking her door in and doing her physical harm. And by doing this and setting off this mob of morons that we know pledge allegiance to him, he's actually putting those people's lives in danger, which is why he was warned by the judge beforehand not to do it.
The people on the right are not people you have to worry about. They don't go around and try to hurt people.
Well, I just gave you an example of them doing that.
No,
where?
Like,
you didn't.
Liar. Like, you lie so easily that it doesn't even matter. It's like water.
So I'm going to move on to.
I'm not on the left. I'm not on the left. I don't have to lie.
Her door, and the
I don't have to lie.
guy told her to move. Your life is in danger.
Okay, I got to move on to
when the man shot up the entire Republican field on the baseball field.
What did Ruby do that?
Who's Ruby?
Okay,
Miss Ruby.
Exactly.
Okay, so I want to move on to Brandon Johnson, who had a political upset. He was because.
What city?
Chicago.
Thank you.
Because Chicago is a Democratic city, most of the times they don't have a serious challenger on a different political side. So, for instance, Philadelphia doesn't have a Republican candidate for mayor who will get enough votes to win. So whoever wins the primary among the Democratic candidates usually wins the election. And the same thing happens in Chicago. So during the primary in Chicago for mayor, Brian Johnson had an upset. Okay. Anybody know? Nas, I know you know about it. Do you want to?
Yeah, it's Brandon Johnson.
I'm sorry, Brandon Johnson.
Yeah, so basically what you would call the traditional system in Chicago, where the typical powers that be run things as far as the Democratic machine there. It's a liberal center-right type of formation. Brandon Johnson comes from a left progressive formation where he organized union workers. Teachers union was really big on this. They really got out there, grassroots fought, and for every nickel and dime they had, and were actually able to beat an establishment candidate and win. And this goes to show all of these people who were so walking away from defunding the police and all these things that, polled really well amongst the left, all of a sudden people found out, oh, you actually can win by not appealing to the Senate or not making the case about always yelling about crime and giving the police more money and everything else. This was a progressive movement about workers getting higher wages, about the city actually being for the people who live in the city, not the transplants or the people on the outside of Chicago suburbs. So this was a real transformational candidacy. I still can't believe he won, but they pulled it off, and it shows that people power actually works, man. You get people excited about things that actually affects their lives. Things Stacey is always trying to bring us back to when we're talking about politics. Well, what does the person at the kitchen table think about this? Well, that's where he took his politics on this, and he was able to win. So the DNC, I'm sure, is pissed off. Their candidate they wanted to win did not. Police officers have threatened to quit and move out of Chicago if Brandon Johnson wins. Well, he won. So goodbye.
So
Goodbye. More people will die.
Excuse me. If you look at the article, and then you can comment, Stephen. If you look at this article, and it was written by Fox, and you see this Fox Chicago. I'm trying to pull it up here so you can see breakdown of Chicago Mayor-elect Brandon Johnson's proposed taxes. What I am concerned about is his proposed taxes. One big challenge, this article says, that was written by, it doesn't say who it was written by, Fox 32 News, published today at 4:31 p.m. One big challenge facing Chicago Mayor-elect Brandon Johnson is how to pay for new public spending he promised. He proposed $800 million in new taxes. So he said, including a new real estate transfer tax, a new tax on aviation fuel at the airports, needs state or federal approval and can't be done by City Hall alone. So if you're going to tax aviation fuel at the airports, what does that mean for somebody who wants to go away for the summer with their kids? Their flight is going to go up. Real estate transfer tax. If someone's buying a home, because of the situation we're in right now, it's hard to get a mortgage. If you're going to buy a house, the transfer for the real estate taxes is going to go up, which is going to add more costs and make it more prohibitive for first-time owners to buy homes. So I don't necessarily know if these are good incentives that will really address or help those people that Nas was talking about. What do you think, Stephen?
So Stacey, at a certain point when you say, okay, well, how are we going to pay for stuff? And then someone says, okay, this is how we pay for it. Then we can't say, well, we can't do that because that would upset this. No, this is how it's done. I'm in Atlanta. When they pay for the new Falcon Stadium, they use the hotel tax and an airfare tax in the same manner to pay for that Falcon Stadium we have here. Now,
and they wasted their money because them dirty birds of the South ain't win nothing since.
I get that, but they wanted the stadium. They figured out a way to get it through revenue, and they were able to get it. And this is going to be a similar thing. And when you say real estate, what happens with this? Well, if you're the broker, you're going to figure out a way to where you take on a huge chunk of that, and that becomes a selling point for you, which means the bigger brokerage houses are going to win and get a lot of things sold. So that's an unfair advantage. But as far as airport and everything else, yeah, they got to pay their fair share. But
that fair share is always passed. No, that fair share. No. That fair share is always passed down to the little man who has to pay it, and it takes more money away from their household.
Okay, so quick correction on that. No, it's not. Usually what happens is the wealthy and corporations evade paying their fair share, and then you can say it's passed on at that point. But if you hold them accountable and actually get them to pay their fair share, then the money is there. Now, the board of mercantilism is similar.
Wait. How are they paying their fair share when I'm paying more because they're passing it on to me?
Yeah, that's what I'm going to explain. So the board of mercantilism is in Chicago. It's similar to the New York Stock Exchange,
right?
Which is why, the airport O'Hare is such an important thing. So that travel is never going to stop. It's just you're saying, okay, we want a piece of that, and we're going to use that for our city. This is going to be the fare that has to be paid. So that's going to help out a lot because you're actually going to have the money. The issue has never been where is the money. The issue has always been getting people to pay their fair share. And by people, I mean huge corporations and the wealthy.
Well, I'm sorry, Nas, and I think you are just a little bit off on that. Not incorrect, but just a little off. Wait.
Let's suss it out.
Okay. If you look at this article, it says also on Johnson's list of proposed tax increases is to make Chicago's hotel motel tax the highest in America. Before the pandemic, the local hospitality and tourism industry was the city's #1 private employer, with many minorities among the workforce. Millions of pre-pandemic tourists have not returned. Thousands of pre-pandemic jobs have not returned. So his tax increase on hotels
stop right there.
may find a fight in city council in Chicago.
All right, let's do this issue by issue. Now, you just brought up hospitality.
Right.
Why are they going after hospitality? Because it's a big part of their city.
But they haven't come back. It hasn't come back.
Just, Stacey, just relax. I promise you, I'm not trying to swindle you. Like, let's just talk. So I just told you in Atlanta, they did the same thing. Why? Because Atlanta was seen as a tourist destination. Now, has tourism dipped in Atlanta? Yes, because it's dipped everywhere. So sometimes we have to be careful with where we get our sources, where we get information from, because you'll read an article that is telling you what their position is. So when someone says, and the tourism hasn't come back yet. Yeah, it hasn't come back everywhere. So everybody is seeing a drop as far as tourism. But that doesn't mean that you shouldn't get a piece of it if you designated that as what? Money that should go to the city. Like I said, we're doing that down here now. Same thing in Atlanta. Nothing changed. People still rent rooms. People still doing what they're doing.
Okay, Stephen, I promise you a chance to comment.
Yeah, it's really a shame that we couldn't have somebody who had the police behind them and want to get things better in Chicago, which everybody I would think on the show except Nas would want the police situation get better and have the police on your side and the mayor and the police working together like Batman and the commissioner or something. Something needs to work. But to think that it's worse now that Beetlejuice is gone, one of the worst people to ever run Chicago is gone and replaced by Jason Voorhees or Freddy Krueger or somebody. This is the worst person that could have replaced him. They're so far left. They hurt the Democrat Party. They hurt people who are decent people who are Democrats.
Okay, Stacey, now cut him off.
What about
because
what
he
if,
cannot
this person is more? Like this person is. Wait a minute, Todd. Todd, I don't remember Stacey calling on you, Stacey. Stacey, did you call on Todd? But this hurts. This hurts the police. This hurts crime. Crime's going to go up. More people are going to get hurt. More people are going to be disgusted. But you know what? That's Chicago. Whether or not this was a real election or not, I kind of doubt it because it's Chicago. And Chicago is the butthole of the United States when it comes to voting. These are the most corrupt voting situations you can have. So now they put the person in charge that is the worst person they could have ever put in charge of Chicago. And it's going to get a lot worse. And crime's going to get a lot worse. At least under Beetlejuice, things were getting a little bit more leveled out, getting a little better than the apocalypse as what it was. But this here is going to be the apocalypse times 20. And it's not what the people deserve in Chicago. People in Chicago do not deserve this.
Let's make sure we're responsible and correct things that are said. So Lori Lightfoot, the establishment candidate who actually got the police higher raises than they've ever gotten. The police budget was as biggest that it's ever been in Chicago history, and that didn't solve the problems that Stephen is now telling us can only be solved by giving them more money. Chicago
I didn't say anything about money, Nas. I never mentioned money.
Be quiet, man. You don't know. Be quiet. Last year, Chicago, $121 million in police brutality settlements. This is the police force we're talking about. Homeland Square in Chicago, where they had a ghost site where police would disappear people routinely, meaning you weren't charged, you weren't arrested. You just went to this site and they forced confessions out of people at gunpoint. This happened in Chicago, in the area that I'm talking about. So when people are so sick of that and so sick of the treatment in that area and they decide they want different things, you, from the outside, who knows nothing about this city except you see shootings.
You live there.
I mean, I guess, but I don't think your commentary means anything because you don't know.
Do you live there, Nas? I thought you lived in Atlanta.
That's where I live now, but where was I born?
We
How
don't
the hell
know.
do I know?
Ah.
I'm not
So
even sure
if
you
you
were
look at this
born.
article, it says outgoing mayor Lori Lightfoot had some words of advice for Johnson. She said, "Stay humble and be grateful." I'm going to move.
I'm sure somebody really wanted the advice from that terrible person.
Let me say this to Stacy, because she allowed Stephen to continually berate this woman and said nothing. Now
Wait a minute. I can't control. Okay, excuse me.
But
I
that's
can't
not you.
control
Usually
what
you jump
someone
in
says
immediately and
about
says,
someone else.
no, you will
I
not.
can't control you saying the things you say about Stephen and me. So what are you talking about?
We are talking
You
about
said
him.
Keith hates his
and
mother.
so-
I
yes.
couldn't stop you from saying that.
No, you could not.
Keith
The truth
loves
will
his
set you
mother, by the
free.
way, Todd. You ought to be ashamed of yourself.
Cousin Todd, you see, I didn't jump on Stephen on the Lori Lightfoot thing. It's really hard to defend Lightfoot, man. It's hard.
Right, but Stacy is pro-woman. She's pro-black. She does not like when any man would hit a woman. Stacy has a fit.
That's right. You're right about
So
that.
does-
Or mistreatment of women. Now, Stephen called this woman a name. I remember we had a caller who was talking about
I
Serena
didn't hit
Williams
her.
and said Serena Williams was a man, and you went off on him. And so this clown is now calling this woman out of her name, and you said nothing.
I didn't. I'm not the first one to call her Beetlejuice, but don't say it 2 more times.
Do you see this? How dare this clown talk about this black woman like that?
Well,
I don't care what
Todd,
color she is. It's accurate. It doesn't matter.
let me
It's
put it this
accurate.
way, Todd, I have to pick my battles.
Right. Thank you, Stacy.
And of course, his coon lover is laughing.
So it's a lot.
So,
It's not that.
And that's
Don't get
the
so
reason
upset,
Thank you,
Todd.
Nas.
It's nothing
Wait, did you
personal
hear
against a
Nas?
black woman.
Did you all hear Nas? Say that again, Nas.
I mean, there's so much coming from that little right side of the conversation within this panel. Like, you got to correct stuff all the time in real time. It's really hard, man. Because it's like, damn, okay, lied, got that wrong. Like, it's hard to, correct all of that.
Thank you, Nas.
Yeah,
Now,
nobody on
can
my
you finish
side
your
is
point?
lying. Nobody over here is lying. And Beetlejuice was not black.
That's right.
Anyway, Todd. All right, I got to move on.
He gets one joke in, and now he's got to ride that joke to the end.
You know, it's funny. You're
So,
still laughing.
also-
Hey, look, hey, Keith, we're still laughing.
Yeah,
So
think-
also
course.
in Wisconsin, Judge Janet Proteswidge, I think I'm sorry if I pronounced it wrong.
Just say communist. Just say communist.
On the state Supreme Court to send an abortion rights message to voters who won Democrats control of the judicial body for the first time in years. And at the same time, Maryland voters decide whether to enshrine abortion rights in their state constitution. And then we have a politician in North Carolina switching parties from Democrat to Republican. A lot of changes going on throughout the country. As people,
Can
I
I
think,
speak to that Wisconsin piece?
Yeah, just a second.
Go ahead, Stacey.
As people, I think, are making changes based on the way they see America, what direction America is moving in. And you see them responding with their votes. You see it in Chicago. You see it in Wisconsin. You see it in Maryland. You see it in North Carolina. As people try to, divvy and they try to position themselves to change the outcome of others' lives. Go ahead, Nas.
Yeah, the thing I want to add about Wisconsin is you got to remember Wisconsin has been a battleground state for about a decade. This goes back to Scott Walker as the governor there, where they basically used the state constitution to center Republican leadership in a way to where they could win elections even though they didn't have the most votes. So there was the gerrymandering part, and then there was the part of setting up the state Supreme Court in a way that even if you lost the election, it didn't matter. You would still have the power of veto. You would still be able to take certain governmental powers that the governor used to have, and put them into this body. So her winning that seat breaks that up, and that can no longer be done. And it's going to be the will of the people in Wisconsin. Who gets the most votes, that's who's going to decide again. So, yeah. Nice to see democracy, I guess, in 2023. Took a long way, but yeah, that's the Wisconsin story.
All right.
And I wanted to know, what is the Republican platform? What I'm hearing, this is all their platform is. Gender affirming care is a no-no. Marjorie Taylor Greene, there'll be none of that. Don't say gay bill. That's the nut in Florida. Banning books. This is where woke comes to die. Banning abortion. This is the Republican
Nobody banned
platform
abortion.
for 2024.
Nobody
This
banned
is all
abortion.
they talk about. They never talk about anything that they're going to do
Yes, they did.
for the people. All they
They
say
did.
is, don't say gay. Let's ban these books because we don't want the people to
Nobody
read
said ban of
anything.
books, and nobody said don't say gay.
They're
That's something
banning
you made
books.
up.
They're banning books daily.
They're not. They're banning books
Raising
where
in the
little
Sun.
kids are performing fellatio on adults. They're banning those books. Look,
That's
Todd.
something
They're
you-
banning this, Todd,
That's something
where
you
little
and your
kids
sick
are doing
boyfriend made up.
fellatio on grown men. They're the books that are getting banned.
Tell me what
Okay,
that
wait a
book
minute.
is.
Wait a minute. I
Tell
don't
me what
like
that
the
book
direction
is.
that was going in, and I didn't like that comment. We don't want to go too far in the wrong direction.
Yeah, the Republicans are trying to ban books where they have little kids performing oral sex on old people in drawings. I'll
Is
send
that
you the book.
what's in
Something
Raising in
about
the
queer.
Sun?
It's something queer. What?
Well, okay.
I'll
Excuse me.
I'll show you, Stacey.
Excuse me.
I've told you
Excuse me.
on this show before. There's books that need to be banned because they're sexually explicit with little kids and adults, and they're
Okay,
trying to
excuse
have
me.
them in
Okay.
schools.
Okay.
That's
okay,
a fact.
Okay. Nas.
Yeah, so yeah, Florida does have a book banning problem. Matter of fact, you can pull up a list of the books that are banned in Florida, and you can also go to the pages, TikTok, Twitter, wherever, of the college professors who are pushing back and trying to get the books back into the curriculum. So again, Stephen is lying because
I'm not lying. Tell me I'm lying again, Nas. I have not lied tonight on the show. You are the liar, not me, Nas. I'm not the communist. I'm not the liar. Everything I've said is true. I will bet you $1 million on this show that I have not told one lie. Bet me.
Shut up. Anyway, finishing what I was saying. So that's the book banning part. And then when we talk about don't say gay,
1 million.
Because Disney said that's what that bill said. Disney is fighting against DeSantis now after they took control again of their corporate board and is stopping him from any other censorship against Disney. So you can talk all the stuff you want to. The people can Google Disney, don't say gay bill in Florida. They can also Google book ban, Florida. They can Google those things and find all the information they need. You're a liar.
Okay, so this is our roundtable. Keith, let's start with Keith and Stephen, then Nas and Cousin Todd. Keith, you were telling me about an article that you wanted to discuss earlier.
Oh boy. Well, do you think we have time for that? I mean, we can wait till next time. I was just going to say that OPEC
was the article in crayon, Keith.
I was just going to say that OPEC. Well, according to the one that was an article you had on the list of topics. So OPEC was being reprimanded by the President Biden. Joe Biden is upset at OPEC for saying that they're going to cut back their production of oil. Okay, so I just wanted to ask Nas, the great one, why would he be upset at OPEC cutting back there when California 2 years ago, Gavin Newsom, the governor, said that we're going to cut oil production altogether. We're going to cut fracking altogether by 2024. So why would Biden be upset about cutting back their production of oil when he has actually cut back production of oil as well? That's all I was.
Okay, I'll explain. And again, I'm not the great one. I'm not most studied. I'm ignorant. I just know a few things. So when you ask this question again, I go back to the same analogy I used last time. We'll use drug dealers as the analogy. When Pablo Escobar decides he's going to ship more or less cocaine, he affects the price of cocaine for everybody. When the United States, Gavin Newsom or Joe Biden or whoever decides to cut or produce more cocaine, guess what? It doesn't affect the price because we don't produce we can't produce the amount of volume that they can. Like I said, Saudi Arabia, you can damn near stick a straw in the ground and draw oil. So because of that, OPEC is always going to be the head of how much oil costs. And Joe Biden is doing his job as every other American president has. If OPEC makes a statement that we don't like, we're going to come out and condemn them publicly and tell them they should reverse course. Will they do it? I don't know if we got the same sway over in that area as we did 20 years ago, 10 years ago. So who knows? This is going to be interesting.
All right. Thank you. Stephen.
All of these countries now that can have power of us are taking power of us, and they're showing us what they can do. We don't have a chance anymore. We had energy independence when we had Donald Trump. We don't have anything under Biden. Stop talking. Shut up. Biden pissed off Saudi Arabia. Biden pissed off Saudi Arabia, and they're cutting oil production, and everybody else will cut off oil production, and everybody else will do whatever they can to destroy this country because we have weak leadership. We have the worst president ever. I heard the other day, you take the 5 worst presidents we ever had, put them together, they're not as bad as Joe Biden. He's the worst president we ever had, and everybody on this show knows it. Everybody in the world knows it, and this is why we're going to all lose our country. And thanks for all your vitriol, Nas, and thank you for so much for being on that side that's on Biden's side, because you are helping to destroy this country. You and other people like you are the reason we're going to lose everything that's great about this country, because you hate this country, you hate the Constitution, you hate everything that's good about this country, and this is what's going to happen. These other things, we got Russia, China, Saudi Arabia, Iran, North Korea, name it. We got all these countries against us now that weren't against us before Joe Biden. We are suffering. We are going to be destroyed because every other country is going to. They're not using the U.S. Shut up, Nas! Like you told me to shut up. They're not going to use the U.S. dollar anymore. They're not going to use a petrodollar anymore. They're going with China. We're not even going to be a power, much less a superpower. And all you people on the left are the reason we're not a superpower anymore. So this is what we've been trying to tell you. Thank you so much for destroying this country, and everybody else you love is going to suffer for it.
Okay,
thank you, everybody on this show that's on the left.
Thank you. Go ahead, Nas.
Don't forget.
No, so the fact is, yes, dynamics are changing, but that has nothing to do with Joe Biden. These are things that were always going to happen just based on population. Again, China, 1.6 billion. India, 1.5 billion. These are big countries who are coming into their, I guess you could say, stage of productivity and affluence. And because of that, they're not going to be as cowed as they were before. We could tell them, hey, do this, that, and the third. Sometimes they're going to be able to buck back now because these countries are stronger and more independent. Now, does that mean we have less power? No, we're still one of the 3 global powers. If we're including these emerging powers, we're still one of the 3. And we're still the most wealthy, most powerful militarily. And all of these countries that you just talked about, the majority of them have central banks flushed full of American dollars because they want the American dollar more than any other currency.
Don't want the American dollar anymore. They're getting off the American dollar. You don't understand, Naj. You're talking out of your ass. They are getting away.
You're doing cartoon stuff in the real world where everybody trades globally, especially in overnight markets. You need the currency that everybody takes and is willing to trade with. And that is the U.S. dollar, which is why all of these countries have the U.S. dollar in their central bank. Now, you can play this, the sky is falling stuff if you want to. What we're actually seeing is we're going to have a multi-power world. And that part is going to change from us being a one-power world after World War II where we ran everything. That's changing. But that doesn't mean the U.S. decline. That just means the conditions change. There was a time where Britain was number one.
And we're having a rough time now with China when Speaker of the House McCarthy has gone to California to meet with the president of Taiwan, which has totally upset China.
pissing them off again. Yeah. So the fact that we can still do that, remember Pelosi went over there and bashed you?
Yes.
Like the fact that we can still do that lets you know we're still a world power. So don't believe this sky is falling stuff that Stephen is saying. And then just think about this, man. Like, no matter what, globally, who wants any problems with the U.S. military? Nobody. Nobody wants those problems. Now, as far as decline, yeah, we're going to have some rough moments, but guess who else is going to have some rough moments? China's got to figure out what they're going to do when they get a workers' fight over there. What happens when they fight and strike and rally for higher wages in China? What happens when China has to figure out a way where they're, I think, 4-1 women to men, figure out a way to set that up as far as families are structured? Because right now, they got a lot of women who are kind of left on the outside because there's so many more women than men due to that one-child policy that they went on for decades. So, like, you can't just look at U.S. problems and say, we're all finished, and act like those other countries don't have their own problems. Sewage, electricity. India has big problems they have to solve that they're going to have to pay for and figure out as well. So it's not so simple as that, Steve.
Thank you. Cousin Todd.
Okay. Crazy Stephen. These countries used to love us until Joe Biden. Now, he's the worst president. Well, at least he didn't say, but he already used this one, that Obama was the worst president we ever had. Now he switched it. So I'm glad at least he switched it off the black and got to the white. But
they are neck and neck.
Okay. Right. So now he's saying those countries used to love us. Russia didn't love us, dum-dum. Remember, even Ronald Reagan knew that. India, we told India not to make a nuclear weapon. They said, oh, yes, we are. So they weren't listening. China, do you think China loved America? So you just made that up. You don't know what you're talking about, typically. I didn't lie. You lie constantly. You don't know that you're lying.
But you thought
you are.
Sided with Russia.
And Stephen and Keith, you cannot talk over me. This is roundtable time. So you have to be quiet. And
That's
Stephen,
right.
Keith uses you. He loves it when you talk stupid and make yourself look ridiculous. And he busts out laughing. So the marriage is not going to work out.
Is that it?
Well, Stacey, I just wanted to say, wasn't Todd a part of that conspiracy that said Trump sided with Russia? Hey, Stephen, didn't they all say that Trump was coercing with, he was with Russia? That he was
He's been wrong. He's been wrong so many times.
Stephen said, why?
And he calls me a liar. Prove that I've lied. I bet you $1 million you can't prove I've lied about anything.
Don't have $1 million.
We're on this show tonight. I bet you $1 million you can't prove I've lied about anything, Todd.
Ma'am.
Todd, you know what you do? You say, that man's a liar, or that man winked at a white girl. That black man winked at a white girl, so we have to hang him. That's the kind of person you are, Todd. This guy lies, so we can't listen to anything he says because he's a liar. So you say lies about me the same way they used to persecute people that never did anything wrong. Todd, I've never told.
I've never. If you wink at Stephen or Keith winks.
Let's get back to Stacey's show and not your personal issues.
I know.
And for the record, for the listeners out there, Franklin Pierce, widely considered the worst U.S. president in history. Look Franklin Pierce up. That'll give you an idea about how things work. There's also a gentleman from Ohio whose name some of you will know. The Fat Man, Warren G. Harding. Look him up. If you want to know about worst presidents in U.S. history, you might want to know a little thing about U.S. history. Look those two things up. See what you find.
Thank you. To our first responders in our communities, you make our lives livable. Thank you. Thank you. To our women and men
of
the U.S. military for sacrificing your lives so that we are free to say whatever we choose on this show. We are forever indebted. On behalf of Aguna, the Nigerian moderate Republican, Keith, the constitutional conservative, Stephen,
the
independent thinker.
Hey, thank you, Stacey, for a great show.
Thank you.
Stephen,
Nas, thank you. We appreciate you so much.
Yeah, good job, Stacey. You put up with a lot.
Thank you, Nas.
And my cousin Todd. Ma'am, ma'am, and ma'am. I'm Stacey Johnson. Let's keep this conversation going on Twitter, Twitch, TikTok. Check out our Instagram page. Also, look us up on YouTube, subscribe and like. And check us out on Stephanie Stallworth's The Flow Network. He is risen.
And next week,
I'm saying that. He is risen. This is Holy Week. This is Easter. He is risen. We will not have a show next week, but you can see all our previous shows. Just binge watch on YouTube at Sporlitiks. We'll see you the week after. Good night.
Today is first day of Passover, isn't it?
Oh, it's today, the first day of Passover. Happy Passover.
Happy Passover.
What were you going to say, Nas?
Can we all admit
Thursday is Passover. Thursday is Passover.
and the funniest thing to ever happen would be if Trump just flew to Russia one night. Middle of the night, breaking news, Trump's gone. He left. Just evacuated the country, left with money.
No, I don't want him to
They
leave.
got sanctuary from Vladimir Putin.
We
Tell
need
me
Trump.
crazy
We
reality.
need Trump. We need Trump. We need Trump. That's the best way to.
You need it.
Now again, when we called you a house Negro earlier, you just confirmed the charges.
Yes.
Yeah, imagine
Yeah,
he's
I'm a
gonna
house
call
nigga.
somebody a house nigga and a field nigga. I
a house
cannot.
You know, I'm a house Negro in the house of George Washington. Yes.
Yeah, but he put A at the end. He put A. He didn't put ER. He put A.
Good night.
Good night.
Bye, crazies.
Bye, crazy Todd.
Congratulations on your engagement, Stephen and Keith.
Thank you, Todd. Stop lying, Todd. Lying will put you in hell soon.
I don't know if
soon.
you got engaged, but I just figured you got to do something. If he doesn't want to buy the milk, if he can get it for free.
Hey, like Michael Jackson said.
Todd, is you don't want to buy the milk and
Todd,
you
it's
get
not
the cow
Todd.
for
Like Michael.
free.
Why is
Todd,
Stephen
like
outside?
Michael Jackson said, it's nothing sexual. It's not sexual.
Why is Stephen
We're
outside?
just friends.
Stephen, what you doing?
Why is he outside?
I never stop. I'm a mountain man. I'm a mountain man, Keith. I got to get things ready for tomorrow.
All right.
I got to get the cows and the horses in shape before I go to bed.
Oh, I see.
There you go.
Mountain man. And the goats.
That's right.
Right on.
Stephen
Right
is
on.
Happy Easter, everyone.
Happy
All right.
Easter,
Yeah.
everybody. Hey, Todd, be good.
No.
Hey, is everybody going to
Nothing
fast
to
on
that.
Friday?
Some of us
Who knows?
don't need to.
I don't know.
You probably do, Todd.
But I'm glad Jesus rose from the dead, because if he hadn't, boy, we would be in worse trouble. But now we have.
I am too. I've been hanging around these Catholic people that are really cool, and they got all these things you have to do. And I said, all you really have to do is believe in Jesus, man. And they're like, what's wrong with you? They're like, what's wrong with you? I'm like, oh, sorry. I'm not trying to get it just up, but I'm not trying to be cool.
All right, everyone. Good night.
Good night,
All right,
everybody.
good night.
Bye.
Thank you, Nas.